Presented by AfterBuzz TV and hosted by Hall of Fame superstar Shawn X-Pac Waltman, this is X-Pac 12360. And now your host, WWE Hall of Fame superstar Shawn X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360, everyone.
What's happening, Shawn?
Hey. So usually shoot the shit for a little while in the beginning of the show, and then we get into what we're gonna do. But on the line right now from Florida, we have Damian Priest. What's up, man? Woo!
What's up, Shawn? Thanks for having me.
No, thank you, man. Hey, I usually don't do interviews that much on the show anymore, but I don't know. Last night I was just thinking, oh shit, should get Priest on because hey, I just rewatched the second Pete Dunn match. That's a hell of a finish, man. I really like the finish.
I appreciate it. Just stuff that just goes well. You know, sometimes you know how it is. Sometimes you just click with somebody and ideas start rolling and things work out really well.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. Obviously it played off the first match you had, but let me just really quick, just full disclosure, like you're one of my first round draft picks, so like I'm a little bit biased right here. Let's just get that out of the way.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
No, like I'll talk about the Dunn match in a little bit, but Luis, did I know you? Did I meet you, or were we on shows or anything like that before I met you at the Monster Factory?
Not before the Monster Factory, no. We met the first time there, and then from there we built a relationship, and then did shows and whatnot. But
I know because you've been around. Sorry, you've been around a minute, and I just thought because I know you dropped a lot of weight over the years, and and I thought maybe I just knew you, and you looked way different back then.
No, we crossed paths, but we met in passing. It wasn't nothing like we worked together or stuff like that. It was in passing, and so we never really formed a relationship, a memorable one, until the Monster Factory, till I had lost all the weight and everything.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Sorry. Cole, you want to jump
All
in?
right. Yeah, well, I kind of want to go ahead and jump in. Let's just kind of kick it off with NXT, maybe talk about that. So one of the things that everyone obviously knows is that NXT has pushed the bar, has set a new standard for what is considered a good and great wrestling match. So for you, do you face any sort of pressures to, really stay on top of your game and, keep bringing out the best that you can?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ever since I joined, the company, just being at the performance center and at the shows and watching, because I try to at least watch all the matches, and I see everybody's performances and how everybody can go, and it's overwhelming at first. At least it was for me, where I was like, well, you start questioning yourself. I don't know if I can go at this level, So, but I really love the pressure. I feel like I do my best work when I feel so much pressure. Just one thing, one foot in front of the other, and just try to work and be as good as you can be. But there's definitely pressure there, because when we say it's the best talent all around the world, it's no joke. I mean, it speaks for itself. When we ourselves are fans of the product, I think that alone speaks for itself,
Hey, so, Luis, I want to talk about the progress you've made, because you were really good when, you were in ROH, but it's ridiculous the progress you've made between your time in ROH and right now, today. Insane.
Dude, I look at myself sometimes and I'm astonished, because, I agree with you. I can tell, just watching old matches and the matches now and just seeing, just my demeanor, it's just completely different. And that obviously it's a lot easier to perform well when you're surrounded by the people that we're surrounded with, with Shawn Michaels and Hunter and everybody else in between. I don't want to leave any names out, but it's the amount of knowledge that's around us on a full-time basis. If you can't get better here, then you just don't belong in the business.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of progress, one thing that I noticed just watching your first few matches in NXT and comparing them to each other, each match had at least one, if not multiple, brand new things that you had never seen before. How important is it to kind of keep switching things up and keep kind of adding new things to your repertoire?
It's extremely important nowadays. People have that short, term memory, and they want more and more and more. So for us, it goes back to challenging ourselves, and can we be more creative the next time out, and without, spoiling everything too much. So yeah, it's definitely something I do on purpose, and I put thought process into where I want to be better than I was the last time, and how can I be innovative, with my own style and incorporate things that either are original or I'm taking from some type of inspiration from somebody from the past or even present, where I can make it into my own. That's always a process that I go through on a regular basis, where let's say I'll take a trip to the Performance Center and I'll work in a ring with, some of the newer guys, but I also am working on things for me to come up with for future matches for myself, so that I can, always be surprising and nobody gets, nothing gets too stale, so to speak.
Hey, so like speaking of that, this is something that that people, like certain people have different thoughts on this, but some people are like, they come up with ideas and they're like, no, let's save that for later. I'm one of these guys, and I don't know if you are too, but like if I have a great idea, I'm going to use it right now. I can always come up with something else for the next time.
Yeah. I mean, 50-50. Yeah. For the most part, I'm pretty much like, this is a good idea. Let's do it right now. Sometimes the only thing that comes up where I want to save is because, sometimes you get too many ideas and it's like, well, we can't do everything. Right. So we do have to save some stuff. So then you have to pick and choose what you want to want to use on a daily basis. But yeah, 100%. I get an idea. I want to do it, because like you said, I mean, it's more pleasurable knowing that you can create something new every time. So if I save stuff, I'm not, I created it, but it was something that I saved and I had ahead of time, instead of creating something new every time out that's in the moment original.
Yeah, and also, man, I noticed about you have really cool ways of incorporating your opponent's stuff into the match too.
Well, that's you know that, man. That's the name of the game. I mean, that's how you really create some magic. When you could take your opponent's stuff and then say, okay, how can we do this way? How can we, tease this and you get this in and I get that in, and you go back and forth, But when you put thought process into your opponent's stuff, that's when you, like I said, you create some magic and you have your best matches. When you only think of yourself and your stuff, it's just going to be one-sided, and that's how you bump heads, and just the flow is different. So for me, I always go into every match thinking about the other person's stuff and how we can go back and forth with their stuff, and then I'll sprinkle my things in. And if the other person thinks the same way, it's even easier to come up with some great stuff.
Man, that's like when somebody comes to you and they go, hey, man, that one thing you do? I have this really cool idea. Man, that just takes, and it changes the whole mindset. And if somebody was going in with their, defensively with their hands up, and not wanting to be, it's just, there's a different mentality in putting a match together that just totally changes the whole thing. And great things happen when both guys go into the match with that kind of attitude.
Absolutely, Shawn. I mean, the pressure that's lifted off your shoulders when somebody comes up and speaks to you that way. So if I can do that for somebody else, I know what they're feeling as well. And then everything's just easier because now we're happy to work together as well. And that shows in the ring, like you can tell when you see people with good chemistry is because they were easy to get along with as far as putting a match together, or just, being in the ring and willing to work with each other and willing to, work with the person's style, so that makes it easier on them, and in turn they will make it easier on you, and there you go.
Yeah, and so that makes me think of the chemistry that you and Pete Dunn have together. Man, you guys have really, excuse me, tongue-tied and twisted here. You guys have great chemistry, man. You work really good out there together.
And on paper, I mean, we're completely different, right? Styles, look, just everything. So you would think that we wouldn't mesh well, but again, it goes back to that willingness to work with somebody and not be, you want to be selfish, but you also got to, it's give and take here. So and it's one of those things that we work really well together, and no egos. You know, we just try to put on the best match possible.
You know something, man? You're and not just your style, but your size. You're the perfect size to where you can work with credibly with any of the big guys, like the matches that I seen you have with Keith Lee, you know, things like that, or with the guys like Pete Dunn or smaller guys. It's just a perfect place to be size-wise.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm at that size, yes, that I could work well with just about anybody. The only downside is that everybody can hit me with stuff. You know, I'm not heavy enough. I'm not heavy enough where guys like Pete can, you know, slam me and pick me up and toss me. And then I'm definitely light enough for somebody like Keith to launch me across the ring like he would anybody else. So that's the only bummer. Sometimes I think about putting on some extra weight so I could, you know, not fall as much. But
hey, man. Hey, I fancy myself a guy that incorporated the martial arts, the kicks, and all of that into my work very nicely. And so when I see you out there, you do a really good job of it as well, man.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think you know this, that I took a lot of it, you know, as far as incorporating my background into, you know, the performance. It's from, you know, you watching you do it first, and that, of course, you were one of my inspirations to be able to translate over my other life into this life, you know. Right. So credit you for that.
Wow. No, but you know, man, there's a lot of guys with legit backgrounds that just they never figure out how to incorporate it right. You know, it looks really bad.
Yeah, and I think that comes with, I mean, being in this business has to be, I don't know, a part of your blood, I guess. Like, you have to really, like, this had to be really something you wanted to do. And those are the people who can really translate over. The ones that have more of a hard time doing it is because they never considered this a passion. It was just something that they fell into and that they were, that they got an opportunity doing. Yeah. You know, but when you actually have a passion and you really want to succeed at this, for the sake of just succeeding at this, not because it just fell in your lap. I think those are the people who really excel mixing their other backgrounds into this profession.
Yeah. And also, man, the one thing I noticed too, and for a big guy your size with long limbs, usually like when they try to do kicks and whatnot, it looks really slow, and yours are nice and crisp.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes if you have an actual background, but I know that too, and you're absolutely 1,000% correct, is that when bigger guys try to do certain things that, you know, generally people their size don't, it doesn't look right. So I always kept that in mind, and that comes with being, you know, honest with yourself and knowing what looks good and what doesn't. There's certain things that I know I can't do because it doesn't look good, and I won't do them for the sake of doing them. You know, so I work hard at making sure that the little things that I want to do, that I can do it to the best of my ability and make sure it looks good, or else, you know, I just won't do it. It's no point. And there's, like I said, there's certain things that I'm just not good at, so I'm not going to do it. Like, I was never good at throwing European uppercuts, so I'm not going to do it. You know, they just don't look good. So why would I do it just for the sake of doing it, you know?
Right. Like me, I was really bad at doing moonsaults. But somehow I got known for it.
Well, and speaking of things that we don't
Nobody
usually
knew
see,
that.
Speaking of things that we don't usually see big guys doing, I mean, some of those dives that we've seen you busting out, like that middle rope springboard, are just absolutely wild. How do you kind of go about working on something like that when you're your size?
Some things, you know, it's not something that I'm going to practice out every day. So some things you just got to know that you can do, and you could visualize yourself doing it and know that, like, I can do that. And there's no practice. You just got to do it. That's just one of those things. So, and again, I know my limits with that. As Shawn joked, you'll never see me do a moonsault. It's just not my thing. You know, just the idea of flipping backwards, not going to happen.
Yeah,
you know, but forwards and straightforward. Yeah, straightforward for me, that works for me. That's in my wheelhouse, and I feel comfortable doing it. And that's why I'm able to do certain things. You know, and using the ropes helps. You know, for me, like the way I step off the rope and I use the ropes to my advantage to what they're supposed to be for, which is to, you know, bounce off. But yeah, just some of the things, you know, as crazy as they seem, I feel comfortable doing, actually, you know, more so than, like I said, going backwards or just doing a standard. bro, I'd rather do a flip than that, which I know sounds funny, but I feel more comfortable that way.
Hey, man. Hey, I was just thinking about this, and it's kind of going out, like, I'm all over the place here when I do my show. So,
it's all good, dude.
Shit. I just had a huge brain fart. Did you not go and have a tryout down at the PC originally when Riddle went down?
At a different time than Riddle, but yes, I did have a tryout at the PC, and then, it was one of those situations.
But then it was a while before, before you actually got signed.
Yeah. Like I said, it was one of those situations where it was like, yeah, you impressed everybody, good, just not right now. There's nothing for you right now. And at the time, the business has, in a small amount of years, the business has changed so much. Where at the time that I wasn't what they were looking for. And
so, do you think you might not have been ready to go there at the time?
It was different. I'm a different person today than I even was then. And it, as 5-6 years ago, it doesn't seem like a lifetime ago. It really is something, to a person individually. To me, I'm completely different than I was then. I think my work is better. I look better. I have a better mental awareness and preparation. I'm better prepared now for for at least this company than I was then. So there is, yes, I will say that was some of it. And of course, when it first happens, you're upset and yes, I'm ready. But time passes and you're able to look back and think, and maybe I wasn't. My first tryout with the company was in 2010, I believe. It was at FCW. It was when you had to pay to try out.
One of those deals, huh?
Yeah. And I remember then being upset that I didn't get hired. Looking back, if I wasn't ready 5 years ago, 9-10 years ago, I definitely was not ready. Not even close. I wasn't even I wasn't in a shape. It was round, but I didn't know the inside of a gym at all. I looked horrible. I was sloppy in the ring, but to me, I thought, I was ready, so looking back now, I could be, honest with myself and know that although it took me a very long time to get here, I'm at the most prepared I could be as far as in comparison to my entire career.
Right.
What do you credit that to, that shift, that mentality shift where you're like, okay, you say you didn't know the inside of the gym and now it's different for you. What happened there that made you say, like, you know what, I'm going to keep pushing forward and I'm going to make changes within myself and my performance, et cetera?
I think a lot of people have a moment in life where they kind of question what they're doing. And was definitely what happened with me. I was working, these crazy jobs and I was living in Atlantic City at the time. And I remember, one of the owners of the club I was working at telling me, hey, we'll quit that wrestling thing because we need you here more weekends. And, I had a great pay. I had a vehicle. I lived in a penthouse apartment on the beach. It was a great job, realistically. And without hesitation, I was like, you have my 2 weeks notice, just because the idea of me giving up wrestling. But then it was like, if I'm giving all this up, what am I doing with my life? And from one day to the next, I completely changed. I changed the people I surrounded myself with. I changed my diet. I started working out. And that's when I really, I woke up and I gave it my all. And I said, if it doesn't work now, at least I can actually look at myself and say that I tried my hardest. Yeah. But then the weirdest thing happened. Started thinking positive, and opportunities started coming that I never had in the 10 years that I was in the business at the time. And it was just
incredible,
by changing your life.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like when you have a negative attitude for whatever reason, sometimes for good reason, but it just closes off opportunities and all these blessings and everything that that are waiting for us, man. Like, it's crazy. Just a switch and a change of attitude, man. It opens everything up.
Dude, that is not a work. That being positive thing, it really works. And I, usually I would, like anybody else, would hear stories of others, the power positivity and that. Yeah. And I always thought, like, okay, whatever. But then when you really start making an effort to do it, it's incredible the amount of positive that can happen in return, just because you're not so focused on the negative and you just keep moving forward and moving forward and moving forward. So even when I did my PC tryout and I was turned down, while I was upset, of course I was upset just because I wanted a job, but it didn't stop me. I still kept on working hard. I was like, well, I'm not going to stop now. I'll just keep working hard. And I still got more opportunities, and then I got an actual job in wrestling, and I got to travel different parts of the world, wrestling, which I'd never done in all the years that I had been in the business. But because of that, my change of mind. And then when I wrote this place off, all of a sudden I'm getting a phone call and I'm like, whoa, this is unexpected, but wow,
Yeah.
You know, I want to mention, so back in 2017, I saw you at Ring of Honor live for the first time for Death Before Dishonor. You had a match against Jay White. And I remember, I was sitting so close, and when you came out and you were just this real big guy, and then you went out there and you did all these crazy stuff, I remember being absolutely impressed by you. And I remember just kind of really thinking man, why haven't I seen this guy, in WWE or something like that? And so I just thought it was really cool once I heard the announcement that you actually were, because I was just okay, he has everything that a lot of people say that's what WWE wants.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I get the perfect answer to why haven't I seen, because I've heard that question before. Why haven't I seen this person before? It was because of my own fault, because of the way I lived my life, and I blame 100% myself. But I also take credit myself for changing and becoming the man that I am today and able to have this opportunity now. But yeah, I was the reason. It was nobody else's fault but my own. And, I'm just glad I noticed before it was too late.
Hey, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I want to talk about your persona and, the authenticity of it. And and tell everyone what what you mean by living forever. I mean, we've talked about this, you and I, but the people.
Yeah. And thank you, because that's something that I feel like people don't. They kind of get, but not really, and there's still confusion over what everything means. There's no supernatural element to it.
Right.
You know me, Shawn, and you know very well that the best. The most successful people in this business are the ones that kind of are themselves and just turn up the volume. And that's what I'm finally getting to do to a certain degree, This is the closest to me that I've ever been in this business, where, before I was a possessed demonic being, and, that was cool to do, but it, obviously it's not me. This is more me, where the idea to live forever is to accomplish whatever, as much as I can in this business so that my name gets remembered,
That's right.
Like these, iconic people. And for me, because I'm into rock and metal and stuff like that, it's that style. So that's how I dress normally, kind of. So it's perfect that I get to do it on TV now. And then when you think about iconic rock stars, like a Morrison, and then bands like Priest and Motley Crue, they'll never get forgotten,
That's
so
right.
The idea is to have that image, because that's the way I want to live, at least Damian Priest wants to live that way, because that's the way somebody who's never going to be forgotten lives. That's the idea of what I am. And to a certain degree, that is me. I live, at least I try to live, and I've always have, kind of like a rock starish, life, where I like going out. I like going to concerts, I headbang, this is all real stuff. I used to love getting up on stage and singing with bands, and living like that, at least in the moment of being a front man, so all that vibe is basically who I am. And I get to, like I said, turn up the volume. Like so many, like Austin used to say it all the time, I'm me, just turn up the volume. That's really what I'm trying to do now. And then the idea of because people question the Archer of Infamy, what does that mean? For me, archery is something that has, even in movies and whatnot, when you see futuristic movies, you always see there are no more guns, so to speak. They're more like lasers or some type of energy beam, that blasters or something, but there aren't guns, right?
Yeah.
In post-apocalyptic movies, people run out of bullets, but what's the one weapon that always is around? It's a bow and arrow. It's the idea of something that through all, and since the beginning of time, that has lasted the test of time. So that's the idea of the archery thing. It's more of symbolism than me actually being an archer.
Sure.
That's why I'm the Archer of Infamy, just because that is something that symbolizes something, my idea of who I am, which is something that lasts the test of time, and that's and I kind of just put everything together and created who I want to be.
It's cool. It's been cool watching because I remember like when you first debuted the Damian Priest with the entrance and everything at Full Sail, and like watching you like not quite so comfortable yet, like, and now watching you come out there totally at ease and like it's just you. You know, you're not trying to be.
And I think at first it was the same thing. I was still trying to pretend, you know, just because I still couldn't let go of the fact that I could just be myself.
Right. There's nobody cooler than just you as the real you, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that, you know, and that's what I'm doing now. And when people say you live your best life, I really am. I'm loving everything I'm doing now. And, I think it shows. You know, I think when you're real, it shows a lot better than it does when you're trying too hard to be something you're not and pretending. I'm not pretending anymore.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, come on, you guys.
When you guys found out that NXT was going to be going to the USA Network, what was your initial reaction to that?
Man, that was so cool. Just coming into the company and getting the opportunity that, like I said, that I almost missed out on because of the way I lived my life. And now I get to be a part of the company, and now I get to be on TV, live television sooner than I really expected. It was like a whole bowl of emotions all over again from when I first got signed, you know, and when I first got that phone call. So when we first find out we're going to be on live TV, it's that excitement all over again. Like, oh my God, this is happening. You know, it's the coolest thing, you know, it's what we dream of, you know, those who really wanted to be in this business because they were fans from the get-go. That's all we dreamt of, is being like the people we saw on TV, you know, and this is part of that. We get to be on TV so that somebody else is thinking the same thing watching us. It's incredible. I don't even know what other words to use for it. Just, you know, I could have never dreamt of anything better. Let's put it that way.
And it was perfect timing to kind of showcase those matches that you had with Pete Dunn, which were so different from, for example, the match that you had with Keith Lee. Do you have a sort of preference as to whether or not, you know, working with bigger guys or smaller guys, as far as kind of what you like to do?
Not in this company. The beautiful thing is because of who I'm surrounded with, you know, all the talent that's, you know, in NXT. It makes no difference of who your opponent is because everybody's so good. You got to be really bad to have bad matches, you know, or not excel here. Like,
sure.
You got to be really bad to not excel here. I mean, because everybody's so good that it makes your life easier, and everybody makes you look even better than you are. And when we could all do that to each other, that's why this place is so incredible. So, to be honest, there is no preference because of that. You know, someone like Keith Lee, I could have these incredible matches, and I could showcase a different side of what I can do because now I'm fighting uphill because he's he's so big. And the same thing with somebody like Dijakovic. You know, it's the same thing. You know, and then I get different styles like a Pete or a Riddle or even an Adam Cole. You know, where guys their styles are so different. So. But everybody's so good at what they do, and they're so good at making others adjust to them, or they'll adjust to others and create some magic. So for me, there is no preference. I can't complain because I know everybody I'm going to get in the ring with is really, really good.
Was it a breath of fresh air to know that with this opportunity of being on the USA Network, that there would be this extra hour to feature more guys and, you know, just more opportunities to be seen, you know, as not just the developmental brand, but, you know, seen on par with Raw and SmackDown?
Yeah, it's awesome, you know, and I think, like, pressure-wise, there's no extra pressure because I think we already put enough pressure on ourselves to go out there and be the best we can be, right? So, I wouldn't say it's extra pressure in that sense. It's more so now, you know, it's every week now. I think the hardest part about it, you know, is just eating right because now we don't have enough time to diet. Right. I can't have as many cheat meals. But besides that, you know, it is very cool to be considered on the same level, you know, as Raw and SmackDown. And now, especially right now with everything going on, you know, people going everywhere. Jumping around and going blow to blow with each other all over the place. Yeah. I think it showcases us differently. Like, hey, look, this is not, a by mistake thing. Like, look at us. We're really good, and we're just as good, if not better. And we can go and like you said, we're not developmental anymore. We are the big time. And I think there's still a whole slew of developmental at the Performance Center, which when they're ready, it's just going to be a revolving door of incredible talent that's going to be coming through to not just NXT, but just Raw and SmackDown as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want?
I was just gonna going back a little bit to before you debuted. We saw these vignettes kind of hyping you up, and that's always been like one of my favorite things is seeing these new vignettes, being able to kind of peek into these new characters. Did you have any sort of say or in the direction of those, or what was that like, kind of shooting those?
Well, so to shoot them, it was basically like let's give a tease of Damian Priest, right? And we knew we wanted to shoot vignettes. Hunter was really big on, showcasing, making me look a certain way, protective that people didn't compare me right off the bat to somebody else. It was, I'll tell you what, the company's really cool with letting you put your input in as well. So we knew we wanted to go out and go to clubs, and I gave ideas from different movies and scenes that I wanted to do, just because it looks so cool and it's iconic. So, I gave an idea of, let's say when, one of the vignettes, I'm sitting on top of speakers, and I was like, that's from Queen of the Damned, or Lestat sitting on the speakers when he first sees a band.
That's my favorite vampire movie, by the way.
That's awesome.
Such a cool movie. Well, you notice some of the things I wear is because of that movie. A lot of inspiration came from that movie. And it's the idea of that Lestat wanted to be known. He wanted everybody, the world, to know about him and vampires. So it's kind of like that idea, except I'm not dead.
Yeah.
Same thing as like Blade. When he's walking through the club, and everybody's moving around him, but he's just walking straight. And that was another thing that I wanted. I just wanted to walk through. And Hunter loved that idea, but he didn't want me to be considered a vampire. And I was like, no. I was like, well, that's why, I'm coming in and out of limos, and I'm hanging out with girls. So it's not like I'm by myself. And the idea of hanging out with.
No, sorry, man. I was gonna say it did have. Those vignettes did have a little bit of a. Do you remember the original vignettes for Edge before there was?
And he's probably the closest, as far as the rock star look. So that's somebody I've definitely studied a lot, is Edge, because of the way he carried himself. And that we did take ideas from that as well. At least I did, which was like that coolness. But I didn't want to be a complete loner. It was like, that's why we had me surrounded by an entourage.
Sure.
So while Edge was completely by himself, I'm not, and part of that came from a story that I heard of Prince, where he was at a club and he didn't do anything, and it was just girls partying around him, and he just sat there and then got up and left. Dude, with everybody. Didn't even like dance or nothing. He just sat there and did nothing, and everybody else partied around him. But everybody knew they were partying because of him, and that's again, it's just cool.
When I would go out in Minneapolis, like in the Attitude Era days, when everything we were like things were going. So we would go out partying every now and then, Prince's Minneapolis guy, I'm trying not to cuss. He had a tent, man, inside the club, a tent around him to where even once you were in the club, you had to go inside this tent to see him. It was crazy. It was like, why don't you just invite people back to your house?
Well, because it's cooler to do it that way, and I get it, because I love doing that. I love to be in the center of attention and not having to do anything for it, and you do things just for the sake of the attention. And again, that goes with everything that Damian Priest represents, and a part of me does too, because of course I want my name to be remembered. I want to accomplish so much that I'm not forgotten. I want, all of it is real. So obviously I just kind of, exaggerate a little bit, but it's everything that I think anybody realistically wants. You want to be the coolest person, in the club. Like, it's just, the idea of it is awesome.
Yeah. Hey,
and then I get to walk around in ridiculous clothes, with a mesh shirt in a club, for real, and what a lot of people don't know about those vignettes, it wasn't like we rented out a club.
Mm-hmm.
Like the background was real. I was walking around in those clothes in an actual club, you know. And there's way more footage that we didn't use. Like, I mean, I looked ridiculous, and it was awesome.
I used to go out like that too, man. Did you remember that picture I sent you of me in the mesh shirt?
Yes. Right. You know, exactly. But, you know, in 2019, it's even stranger in 2019 to see somebody in a normal club. Like if it was like a goth club, it'd be one thing, but this is a regular dance club, and I'm walking around in a mesh shirt with sunglasses on, my hair down, and like a leather biker vest thing, and it was just funny. Like I enjoyed it. I was laughing, and everybody just staring at me like, "Well, what's wrong with this guy?" You know. But then they see cameras following me, so everybody's really confused.
Plus, you gotta feel real good about how you look to go out rocking a mesh shirt like that.
Yeah, you know what's funny, and when I first put it on, it was just to see how it looked. And I remember you telling me, like, hey, actually, it doesn't look bad. Be careful who sees it. They might want you to work in it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this work, though, because it was something that was used back in the day a lot by certain people. I know, you know, like you wore it. The Hardys wore them. You know, just Edge. You know, so there was a lot of people that wore the mesh shirts. So I was like, it might be some coolness to it because nobody's done it in so long. You know, even Test did for a little bit. So...
Hey, as you're saying this, we're looking at a picture of you, Keith Lee, and Boogs wearing mesh shirts, and Riddle off to the side looking at you like you're crazy.
Well, there's another picture of Riddle wearing it. You know, he forgot his shirt that day, so that's why he's off to the side in the picture. Because we were all like, "How could you forget your shirt?" We all have. I had gotten everybody mesh shirts. So
you can't sit with us mentality.
Yeah, we were supposed to be the mesh shirt militia, but that didn't last too long.
Hey, man.
I think
let's talk because, you know, man, and just in wrestling in general, and like a lot of things going on in wrestling right now in different companies or whatever, and a lot of great talent in these places. But talk about the difference between that and having guys like Shawn Michaels and guys like that, because you're sitting under that learning tree and you have that guidance, and talk about the difference that makes.
Man, well, that goes to what I was saying before with the. Yeah, oh no, I get it. With the people we're surrounded with, so someone like Shawn, who I was on a weekly basis, and still, I mean, obviously, I still speak to him on a weekly basis, but for a few months, even before I debuted on TV, I know we watch matches of mine and go over stuff, and his thing would be, he's not changing what you do, he's just making you do it in the best way possible to have the most success. Yeah. And that's a game changer because, and you know, you've been around that, and you've been around enough of the so-called, you know, experts that hate wrestling now, right? Yep. Everything is that negative mentality, and everything is bad, and the business is dead, and you know what I'm talking about. So when you actually hear somebody from that era, like yourself, you know, Shawn Michaels, you know, Hunter, and so many, and everybody else at the PC, obviously, but when they're from that era and still in modern wrestling giving you the advice that, hey, it's okay to do that, but let's do it this way so that you could get the most out of it. You know, that's the game changer for me. It changed my whole perspective of how I put matches together or how I just work just in a match, my demeanor, my expressions. It completely changed my mentality. And I see, it's funny now watching, whether it's my old stuff or watching other companies and watching friends of mine work, and I cringe, and I'll speak to them and be like, hey, maybe you should think about doing this way because of what I've learned here. So, you know, in the short time that I've been here, I feel like I've gained like years and years of knowledge just because of the people that are here. And, you know, obviously Shawn Michaels, you know, doesn't hurt speaking to him multiple times a week and him watching your matches and telling you in the moment, like while you're watching it with him, pausing something and telling you, hey, that was good, but think about doing it this way or try doing this like this. And then you do it and it's like, oh my God, that works so well, you know? Yeah. So it makes a world of difference.
And sometimes if you didn't have that guidance, it might be years or never before you figure these things out on your own.
Of course, you're right. And most likely never, to be honest, because all the years that I've been in the business, it's just little things that just like, I can't believe I didn't think of that, you know? And Man, it's awesome. And the people, again, my favorite, just people talk about what's your favorite part of being in the company. Obviously the job, of course, and being a superstar and everything that comes with it. But I'm not going to lie, the people that I get to meet and interact with on a regular basis, just me telling you, first of all, you and I, our friendship, the way that the closer we become and that we get to work together at PC. Shawn Michaels and Hunter and all these guys, Scotty and Bloom and everybody in between that I get to speak to on a regular basis. It's insane that this is my life now. I mean, today I went and watched some of my matches back with Scott and Kev, and that's, I mean, it's sometimes I think back and I'm like, this is crazy. This is life right now.
Hey, you just said you just watched some of your matches back with Scott and Kev. Are they at the PC today?
Yeah, this morning we watched a match with Pete and I.
Nice.
Yeah. Incredible, man.
Yes, man. Nobody's smarter than Scott Hall.
Dude, I had such a good time. Just
of the entire clique, no one smarter than Scott Hall when it comes to the stuff in the ring stuff. Or just any of it.
Yeah, talking to him, you can. I know you're not kidding. Just speaking to him today, and I've met him before, and I've sat with him before and watched matches. But again, today, just because it's a different style of match, like we watched one of the matches with Pete and I, and he's speaking to me differently with that, and they like the matches, but they're also advising me how to even make it even better, and it's not don't do this, it's do it this way, and that to me is so much more valuable than just being negative and saying, I don't get it, and you shouldn't do any of that. And it's like, well, you're going to do it, but try to make it the best way possible.
So was it easy for you to go in and sort of hear, this new critique of your matches and maybe things that you were used to doing or you thought you were doing the way that you should be doing it? Was it easy to hear the critiques?
For me, yes, because I'm someone, maybe it's because I'm a little older than some of the guys. I came in with a different mind. I came in willing to change. Like I knew there had to be a change. There's a reason why this company does business the way it does and why it's so successful. I'm sure I got to learn something here, so I came in with the mindset that I was going to have to change a lot. And actually it was mainly morphing what I did already. It wasn't, I thought I was going to be completely, take everything you do, throw it in the garbage, and we're going to start from scratch. And that wasn't the case. It was just modifying what I already did, which I thought was great. But I came in with more of that positive, which I think most people that come in here do, that have already been in the business. I think in 2019, everybody's a little bit more positive, especially the people that are brought into the company. The company obviously does its homework on guys and girls before they come in, so they make sure that they have a decent attitude and whatnot. And I was more than willing to accept critiques, and they're not given in a way where you're being insulted either. That also makes it easier. They're not insulting critiques. They're more of like that, of like, hey, this is good, but try this. Yeah, constructive, exactly. Nobody's insulting anybody. Nobody's purposely trying to hurt somebody's feelings or hold them back. Everything is positive. Everything is legit to make you the best you can be. And if you don't have an ego or you put your ego to the side, you're going to be very successful here. I mean, it's all the tools are literally handed to us. I mean, we're being babied as far as, given the keys to success here, which I wish I could have had years ago, but... but it wasn't. It was a different time, just the same. People didn't have this. I mean, Shawn, I know you didn't have it this way when you first came up. Like a facility, like in Florida, and having all these geniuses come in and tell you the business. You didn't have that. You would have one trainer or a couple coaches and whatnot, and that's it. Go out and wrestle. That was it.
As we go into a new year, who's on your list of people that you would love to work with that you haven't gotten a chance to work with yet?
Man, there's a lot. It's just, there's a book. There's a book-long list. Just because there's so much talent here. I mean, and I'm sure you've heard that, and it's kind of like, yeah, we get it. There's a lot of people there. But there really is. I mean, so we're just talking NXT. I mean, it's everybody. And obviously here it's cool because you're going to get to at some point. Outside of here, if I had the top names, I always go to the top. I mean, I want to work with Roman Reigns. I want to work with Bray Wyatt. I want to work with Daniel Bryan. I want to work with the top people, Brock Lesnar. All the main attractions, the ones that draw the most money, the biggest names, that's who I want to work with. AJ Styles, all these guys. So The list is very long for me, but if I have to start picking, of course, I'm always going to pick the top people. What are we wasting time for? What are we trying to do? So if you're asking me who I want to work with top names. If it's a dream opponent, of course, it's Undertaker. That was the reason why I fell in love with wrestling. So there's a lot of names on my list. So it's kind of hard to pick and choose. It just depends on what we're speaking of directly. Like, what's the criteria? If it's like, just the dream match, or just in general, or program, there's going to be a different answer for every single one. But it's easy to think about it because there's so much talent.
Hey, no, you got this match, this three-way coming up with Pete and Killian. Have you done anything with Killian yet? Have you guys worked?
No, aside from him almost breaking my back on TV last week. No. that was real.
Yeah,
that was a good one. But no.
Talking about when he hit you with the cannonball on the steps outside.
Yeah.
Was it
brutal.
the initial when he threw you in, or was it when he did the cannonball on you that hurt?
Oh, it was both, 100%. So when he threw me in, I hit it really hard, straight back, and the steps moved out of position. And then when he did the cannonball, it just didn't have the same stability, and so they both hurt. And that was some of the most painful. That was one of the most painful things that I've done, period, in this business. And I just, when I got to the back, I was like, I can't believe how much that hurt. I know they put on an injury report. It was because, I was in real pain. My entire back, I've never felt my entire back hurt. Your lower back.
Man.
No, it's funny thinking back, because you can have a lower back pain or a certain spot, but not like the entire back from top to bottom. There was no spot that didn't hurt. So that was brutal. So aside from that, no, we've never worked. Looking forward to it. He's someone that, he has this rugged, brute style that I also am looking forward to. I do like the roughness. Nowadays, everybody's a little bit more physical, and especially if you come from a shoot background, you kind of enjoy it a little bit. So I like the idea of Pete, Killian, and those styles of guys that have a little more brute and brutal instinct to them.
Hang on.
What are your thoughts on the NXT Invasion angle, and collectively for the NXT talent? How did it feel for everyone to sort of see what impact they had on SmackDown, where everybody was saying what a great show it was, ratings were up, and all of that, the whole entirety of that?
So, well, first it's a takeover, not an invasion. We've got to be careful now. So. No, it's awesome, and of course it's gratifying to us knowing that we had a positive impact on an established show, because it could have easily went the other way, and that would have been crushing. So it was definitely, it felt good for everybody that has anything to do with the brand to hear that news, and then obviously because of that, get a phone call, hey, we want you guys on Raw as well. That's an awesome feeling, because that means that we're succeeding. So the idea of what it is, and it's also exciting for us. Just the idea of doing an angle that, for me as a fan, I watched some things like this happen in the past. And so as a fan, now I get to live a similar situation again. It's another one of those deals where it's like, I can't believe this is happening. This is so cool, and because I think for most of us, we don't lose that fan aspect. I definitely have not. I still love every little thing, and I still love the story aspect of what we do. So yes, it's extremely exciting, and again, it's a proud moment for everybody that's involved with the brand to know that we're succeeding, and what we're doing is working, and it's not for nothing, and it doesn't go unnoticed.
Hey, so has the environment changed at all since all of this? Is the competitive nature of the it's a tight knit group, that the NXT roster, but being on USA now, it kind of changes things a little bit, and I was just wondering if you noticed any of that competitiveness rearing its head.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be, of course, there definitely is, because everybody wants to be on TV. Who doesn't want to be on TV? You know, that's what we came here for. And now you're telling me that the door's right in front of us. It's not that far away. I want to go jump through it. You know, I want to open it. So for a lot of people, it's definitely stepped up. And there was, of course, a lot of people are upset that they're not being featured, which they rightfully should be, because you should want to work harder to get there. Now it's up to each individual to decide whether that they're going to take that negative or positive. You know, that's like we talked about before. That's on each and every person on their own to figure out. You know, if you want to take that as I need to work harder and be positive about it, it doesn't mean you should be happy for, you know, you could be happy for everybody else, but there's got to be a part of you, that selfish side, that you're going to want more. You're going to want that for yourself. You know,
there's a lot of people, man, when they have the meetings, like the talent meetings, and I, you know, walk out there and, man, there's like 100 plus people sitting there. It's like, man, whoo-wee. Yeah, no, for sure. There's so many people, and every time we have a meeting, it's like there's more. It's like, who got fed after midnight here? It keeps growing and it keeps growing and growing. But I think that's good for all of us. You know, it keeps us on our toes. You know, and keep working as hard as you can. And we should want that anyway, but just in case, there's going to be someone right there. And the idea of, it's not about, you know, a spot and creating a spot. You know, there is a such thing that if somebody's working harder than you, they're going to earn an opportunity before you, or that's right,
you're going to be taken out of an opportunity and given to somebody else, and they'll take that spot because of the work ethic. And that's one thing. Another thing here that's awesome is that work ethic and positivity and just being a good person doesn't go unnoticed here. Yeah,
and like it is about work ethic. It's not like it's about that, and it's not like in a lot of places there's like a tenure thing that, you know, people get preferential treatment because maybe they have tenure or whatever, but it's different in NXT, man. It's merit based. You have to go out there and bring something to the table every week, you know?
Yeah. Aside from, I mean, there's enough talent. There's enough people that can go in the ring. You know, that's a given. You know, that's what this place is for, right? You know, to get better and be able to go. So we got enough of that. Is where's the other side? You know, like you said, who's bringing something different, who's going to connect differently, and then have everything else on the side as well, on you know, the good side, which is, like I said, positivity and work ethic and everything else that comes with it. It just got to be a combination of it all. It can't just be one thing over another. So, you know, and you know, but sometimes in the real world, obviously, sometimes that's not enough. Yeah. But it doesn't mean you quit. You know, and I think that there's a lot of as far as the Performance Center in NXT, we have a really, really good group where I don't think anybody has that mentality that's there. Like, I was there today, and I was just looking around, and I could tell that nobody's there just for the hell of it. Everybody really wants to succeed. So, and in a good way, and everybody's working hard and helping each other. It's just really cool to see. You know, obviously, wrestling in 2019 is so different from, I think, obviously any other year and era.
Man, it's so much different than it was even 2 years ago. It's crazy.
Big time.
Wow. Hey, man,
Absolutely.
we're getting toward the end here. Plus, Lula's over here crying. Like, she usually tells me when the show's ready to end. But hey, real quick, last stuff.
Yeah, actually, my last question for you is, you know, everyone's looking at NXT, seeing what they're going to do next. For you personally, what are you looking to do next to keep standing out and staying on top of your game?
Easy answer, obviously, is, you know, keep putting on great performances and keep, you know, evolving and progressing. But realistically, I want main events. That's real. I want to be in main events, more main events. I want to be in the main event of takeovers. I want championships. I want the real big top level superstar treatment. And, you know, I'm doing everything I can to earn it. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be handed it. But yeah, that's what I want. That's me being realistic. You know, I think a lot of people want to give the PR answer to that. But me, no, I want the most money. I want to be the biggest star. I really want to be at that top level. And from there, if once I achieve that here, if the next move is Raw or SmackDown, then too, you know, against their top guys. And that's why I said before, my dream opponents, Roman Reigns, you know, like, I want the number one guy. You know, that's real. That's not a character or the right thing to say. That's me being honest, because that's what will make me the biggest star I can be.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. I imagine you don't have a ton of downtime, especially now that you're getting kind of more and more screen time. But in the rare event that you do get downtime, what do you kind of do to sort of like, I guess, kind of, you know, refresh or sort of kind of get away from it all?
Watch Damian Priest vignettes. That'll tell you what I like to do. Nah, in all seriousness, I do like to go out and have a good time, but I enjoy, I'm a big baseball fan, so during baseball season, I like to catch a game, and if I could go live, I love going to live sporting events. So going to the live baseball game was great, or concerts. I'm a big concert guy as well. So whenever I get a chance, if it's just one day, I'll take a long road trip just to go check out a band or something, just because that to me it's like going fishing for some, where it's just, a mind relaxed situation, where you get to reset and just focus on being in the moment and enjoying something for what it is and kind of clearing your mind. So those are things I like. And then I'm a big movie guy, so I like watching movies, but those are mainly the main things I like to do outside of, physical training and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Hey, so do you know what you got going on for TV tomorrow and all? Not that I don't want you to share it, but are you going to be on tomorrow?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I'll be there. But, we never know what, not to say we never, but, I get told, hey, show up for work. I show up for work. I don't try to ask too many questions. I like we talked about, I like getting ideas in the moment and then trying to perform those ideas instead of having, and the more time I have to think about stuff, the worse it gets, because then you start, you start saying, oh, maybe that's not a good idea. And you start questioning yourself. So I'd rather not know till the last moment and then go out there and do my thing.
That's awesome.
Hey, man. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on today, last minute like that.
Dude, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you all, actually.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And man, I don't like. It's weird when I say this, but and I don't mean this in a weird way, but man, I'm really proud of you, man, because I feel like I've known you for a little bit now, and just watching your progress and just feeling like I had any little part in that, man, makes me very proud to see where you're at right now.
Hearing things like that means more than you could ever know, and it makes the hard work, it makes it mean something, on a different level. So please know that does not go just, I don't brush that off my shoulders that easily. That's very important, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Hey, have a great rest of your day, and thank you, Kim from WWPR on the line. Thank you. So she don't want to say hi. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, we're out of here. Hey, so what do you think?
I am honestly, I feel he has such a good head on his shoulders. If I want to, I don't know, everything that he said, you can just listen to him and feel inspired, because he went through this change where he really had to look at himself and really make a change in his career. And I think that's awesome for anyone to hear. So I really like his mentality and the way he thinks.
Yeah, and he was talking about, he had to change his life. It's not like he was living this horrible life, but he ended,
tighten things up.
To get what he wanted in life, man. And it's just a great example of what happens when you do that.
Yeah, I've absolutely fallen in love with his work over the last few months, and just talking to him is even better. It's one of my
he's his style, and how because he's got this modern style, but it's a main in that style.
Right.
It's not there's different.
And everything he brings, the whole package is impressive, from size to athletic ability and all of that, the look, everything.
Yeah, and it's like we said, he can go in there with a Keith Lee or with a Pete Dunn and be adaptable. NXT's getting more and more well-rounded, which is awesome.
Cool. Well, yeah, and I want to thank WWE for this. Usually you got to request somebody for a week or 2 hour or whatever.
Right.
I did this last night, and they came through for me. So I thank you to Adam Hopkins, WWPR. Appreciate you. And all right, well, let's get the hell out of here.
Let's wrap it all up.
All right, we're out of here. See you next week.
Executive producers Maria Menounos.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man.
And the entire Xpac 12360 staff, thank you for tuning in to Xpac 12360.